What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Ish Just Work podcast, hosted by yours truly, Chuck Clements, and my brother Stephen Hurley. Steve, what is going on, my boy?
It's going well. A few your high school team that you're coaching's got playoffs this week, so playoff basketball's coming around. Our alma mater, our RPI, has playoff basketball this week, and soon enough, March Madness will be here. So playoffs are coming upon us. So exciting time of the year.
Crazy. The season goes by so fast, man. It's actually like
I know,
I
yeah.
don't, I don't know if you felt this when you were coaching, but I felt this when I was playing. I feel like the season was like much longer, dragging out a little bit. But like I don't know, now being out of it and kind of just watching things from the outside in, I feel like it goes by so quick. So it's actually crazy.
Yeah, I think too in college you have like a preseason program and then an off-season program, so you never really feel like you're not in it. You know what I mean?
That's
To a
true.
certain degree, but
What do you mean?
when you're not physically a part of it anymore, you're like, yeah, every week goes by quick. I don't know why, but you're right though.
It's crazy. We had a big past week of college hoops, literally like ranked games all throughout the week, every single day. Obviously, this past Saturday was probably the biggest day of college basketball this whole year. We had one versus three and two versus four. Let's start versus the Arizona versus Houston game first. Obviously, Arizona had a couple of tough losses prior to this. They come into Houston and get a big win at Houston, which never really happens. What were your outlooks on that game and how well Arizona was able to play against Houston?
Yeah, I was really impressed with Arizona's defense. I thought they made everything tough for Houston, especially Kingston Fleming. He used to take a lot of tough shots. And I just think I was shocked how easy they were able to like implement their like game plan, like the offensive rebounding grade. They got to the free throw line a ton. I don't know the exact numbers. It had to have been a more than 25 free throws. It was crazy. And again, they shot like probably low teen threes, and it was pretty easy for them to execute that game. There's so many underrated players on that team too. I don't know the young man's name, but their wing from Europe. He's like
Yeah,
just such a fun player to watch.
Or are you talking about the freshman or the one that went crazy?
Freshman,
Oh
like
yeah,
the
he's pretty solid.
or the or I guess it was the one that went crazy. The one from European, like Ivan something.
Yeah,
Ivan?
yeah. They had two guys
Yeah.
that went crazy. It was like Delorso
Delorso, yeah.
and then the other guy that you're talking about, I believe.
Yeah, he's like they just have a lot of underrated players, and I think they kind of reminded you that, they're still one of the, if not the best team in the country, they're certainly one of the top two or three, and it's going to take a really great effort, to beat them on a neutral court in March. So,
Yeah, no, I agree. I
yeah.
agree. When you have players that like can come off the bench. Obviously, Delorso was a starter last year along with Toby. They're both starters. They already have that experience of playing high level games, high level minutes. But we have players that can kind of take the load off of Braden Burries, who's playing sick, didn't have the best game, but Delorso kind of came in and kind of took that load up. And then Koa Pete didn't even play. So when you have just like seven or eight guys that you can kind of go and trust every single game to kind of give you a big game, that's super hard to stop in March because it's like now who do you really game plan for, um, in that sense. But I did think they did a great job, especially in case of Fleming. He kind of looks pretty rushed throughout the whole game. I know he was in foul trouble pretty early. That
100%.
he didn't look like his usual self. And Houston's offense didn't look like his usual self. Um, Milo, Samuel Sharp, they taking a little bit tougher shots. So I really was impressed with Arizona, especially about the response that they had after losing those two games back to back. Um, but to come into Houston, where like Houston was like 42-1 in that building prior to the game, and they came in and kind of dominated the whole time. So I was impressed. I thought that Houston didn't look like how they usually do, but yeah, I thought Arizona kind of took it to them right from the jump.
Two,
So.
yeah, two things I just want to touch on quick. I saw this on Twitter going around. Houston's obviously known as a team that's disruptive defensively and forces a lot of turnovers. I want to say both Iowa State and Arizona, they barely forced any turnovers. And it was like that's their whole game. And if they're not forcing turnovers, they're a team that fouls a lot. They're not as like unbeatable on defense as I think maybe in years past. And I also think I have some questions with Houston, their depth. Like I think their backup center's like solid, but he played like almost half the game. I just think
He
that's
was,
too many minutes for him.
he was fumbling the ball. Re
Yeah, and
rebound.
Harwell's
But Harrell's, I
I
think,
was
what? He's
he's a
good.
promising yeah, he's a
He's gonna
promising
be good.
player.
He's gonna be good.
Right, but and exactly. He's a freshman though, and his primary thing is shooting, and they don't
Hmm.
really need more perimeter shooting in my
Right.
opinion. They need
Right.
guys that are good to defend, move without the ball well, play hard. And I'm not saying he doesn't do those things, but their bench is just not like Arizona's bench is like, man, they have two or three guys
Mhm.
that could start everywhere else, and Houston
Started
just
last
doesn't
year.
have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I agree. Houston, because I don't really know these guys' names, but Hartwell obviously off the bench. They had um,
The
the
backup
big
guard's
kid.
been nice. Mercy Miller, he's been
Yeah, he's been doing
solid.
pretty solid. Like for the minutes he's getting, like I said, I kind of like his game. Like he's coming in and
Yeah.
actually made a little bit of a difference. We'll see if they actually do give him some more minutes because I do think um, he can take the load off of like Sharp, Milos, and Flemings.
Hmm.
I don't know. We'll see how that goes. He hasn't really got that many minutes, but other than like really Hartwell, like their bench is just really just kind of disappointing. And I
Yeah.
mean, obviously Houston has a great chance to do well in the tournament, but we kind of know like if your starters aren't on the game, kind of like were this past weekend, like who can you lean to? And obviously Arizona,
Right.
they were able to lean to De La Rosa. Obviously Toby's starting now, but he's someone that comes off the bench um, as
Even
well.
they have the young freshman who didn't play this game, Dwayne, like Erstad, I think
Mhm.
his name
Yeah,
is. He's an awesome player, and it just goes to show. I think this that game clearly showed to me the difference between right now what a national champion could look like versus like a team that could go far in March, but maybe not win at all.
right. I think if you give two people props for these wins on both Iowa State and Arizona. Obviously, the point guards, Jaden Bradley, Tamin Lipsey, but also like the coaches. Because obviously, you said Houston's whole deal defensively is trying to speed teams up, whether it's like blitzing the ball screen, on ball pressure, whatever it is. But obviously, Jaden Bradley's a senior. He's played against Houston probably like obviously it's like second or third year there, so he's played against a good amount. Lipsey's
Right.
like a senior as well, so he's played against them a great amount as well. So they kind of know obviously what Houston's trying to get across and what they're trying to do in defensive end. And then also the coaches are putting them in the right spots, have enough space to operate and not be in the wrong places to get pressured by them. So I think I mentioned that on either the picks, I think it was the picks segment where
Yep.
I think it shows Iowa State. I was like, it's really gonna come down to how well they can kind of handle that pressure. And if the team could do that, I think Houston's beatable, as we saw this past week as well. So
Yeah, and last thing I want to touch on, both games too, I thought Houston, they can at times on offense, they could take a lot of like long threes. And those guys can hit them sharp, Uzen, Flemings, Harwell, and even Cenac, but they couldn't get anything at the rim. And I know Iowa State and Arizona, it's hard to do that, but they're going to go against these teams in the Sweet 16, Elite Eight, Final Four. Like, so I'm interested to see if they make any adjustments. Monday, tomorrow they have a big game against Kansas, so it'll be interesting to see.
yeah, we'll see. Moving on to the other big game on Saturday, we had Michigan versus Duke in DC. Duke was able to get a big time win versus the number one team in the country. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to watch it through and through. I got to watch some of the highlights and stuff like that. But I said a team like Duke, they're my favorite team. I kind of had some questions about how good they can be. Could they be a national championship team? And this game did a lot for me in terms of if they could win and in what fashion they would win it in. But obviously, for me early on, it was more of a if Cam Booter's not scoring, where are we getting our offense from? And obviously, Isaiah Evans these past few weeks has picked it up, past month and a half, honestly, has picked up in the scoring realm. But I thought this was a huge game for them to show, like, all right, they're in that top conversation with um, Michigan, Arizona to be a national championship type of winner. But this one is huge for me, and I think it would take this team a long, long way. But you obviously watched it. What was your outlook on the game? How was Duke able to win this game, in your opinion?
Yeah, so I was talking with a good friend of mine, Tucker, actually, before the game, and I was telling him I thought how Duke was going to win this game is first of all, they have to control them on the glass, meaning maybe not win the rebounding battle, but not, be such a deficit there. And then the next thing was make enough 3-point shots because as we've seen, like a Nebraska, a Wisconsin versus Michigan, teams that have kept it close or beaten Michigan, They took a lot of threes and they made them. So even though Duke might not shoot a ton of threes all the time, they would have to make them, especially how hard it is to score against Michigan inside. And Duke shot, I think they shot like 32 or 33% from three. They didn't shoot a lot of threes, but they made enough. So that was huge. Isaiah Evans, Caleb Foster, Boozer at the big three down the stretch. That was big. But the shocking thing in this game was Duke's ability on the inside to not only score, but offensive rebound and defensive rebound. Michigan, they had a bad shooting game, but what makes them so hard to beat is they don't have to have a great shooting game because they get so many second chances. And Duke did a great job of just limiting their opportunities and then getting second chances themselves. I mean, the game was 68-63, so it wasn't like an offensive juggernaut. But Duke did a great job on the glass. I thought Duke's offense too, like even though they weren't getting a lot of easy buckets all the time, I thought down the stretch there you could just see how well organized they were. The Coach Shire seemed to call the right play at the right time. It was just a lot of good stuff from them. So yeah, I'd say that.
Yeah, no, I think Duke is honestly probably the most like versatile team in the country in terms of like they can kind of beat you in just so many different ways. Like you said just now, the score was 68-63. Michigan's a team like they want to score a lot of points, and if it's a low scoring game, I don't know if it's too much in their favor, but I think
Right.
Duke can do it both. Like they can keep you to 60 points. They can win a game by scoring 80,
80,
89
yeah.
points as well. They could do it in the post with Cam Boozer and Big Pat. They can do it on the perimeter with Isaiah Evans. So I think that might cause a little bit of like, that'd be great for them in the tournament because you're going to see so many different types of styles and teams. And if you're able to like play fast versus a slower team or slow it down versus a faster team, I think that could be huge for them. So I think it's something that's pretty interesting to look at as like the conference tournament starts and NCAA March Madness starts because like you never know who you're gonna play and you might have to switch your style up a little bit each game. So
Yeah, and I thought also I think the overall key to beating Michigan is they're a team that's susceptible to turning the ball over. They actually
mhm.
didn't turn the ball over a lot, and I know people Ellie Cadeau had a rough shooting game, but he actually did a good job at not turning it over. And I think that's his kind of main job on this team, in my opinion, and also applying ball pressure and hitting open shots. But I didn't think he was as bad as people made out to be. I thought what was really bad for Michigan, they got nothing from their wings, like zero. Like Namari Burnett, Roddy Gale, Will Cheddar off the bench, like none of those guys hit perimeter shots. They had as many assists as turnovers. It wasn't a strong showing from them. Because other than Yaxel and I think Elliott and LJ Kason, I don't think anyone else made a three. So and that's those role guys. Their role is to defend and 3 and D, and they forgot the first part. So yeah,
That's interesting. Like I said, we'll see how this AP poll comes out. Obviously, with the one losing to the three, two losing to the four. So I mean, I
right.
think we got blessed on Saturday to kind of have those
Two great
those
games.
games. Give us a little. It felt like obviously felt like it was March Madness, like Final Four vibes, and
Yeah,
um, got that in February. So obviously want to touch on that, but. This episode is really gonna mainly focus on March Madness. Obviously, March is like in a week or so, so we gotta really, revisit some stuff that we talked about already. If something that, we might have our minds probably changed. But let's go right into our conference winners. All right, I think we did this maybe a month ago where we had our conference winners for each of the big conferences.
right.
Let's see if anything's changed or anything stay the same, how you're feeling. So we can start off with let's go SEC. Who do you have? I don't know if you remember who you had before, but who do you have now and why you have this team?
I want to say I'm not 100% sure. I would like to think I'd pick Florida, but
Yeah, no,
I don't.
you don't have to say who you pick.
Yeah, I just think it's still going to be Florida here. They have a 2 game lead. I don't see that changing. Tennessee's played much better lately. Arkansas and Alabama are obviously volatile teams, but all it takes for those teams to really lose one more game, and it's probably out of reach, given there's probably like 4 games left in the
No,
schedule.
let's talk about conference tournament. Like if you
Oh,
could choose,
excuse me, I apologize. Yeah,
you could choose conference tournament winner.
yeah, absolutely.
Who you going
I'll
with?
go. So conference tournament winners, I think the most time people want to look for like the hot team, and I think a lower seeded team could make a run, but usually it's like the top 4 or 5 teams in the conference
Mhm.
that usually win it. I'll go. I'm looking at it now. I still really like Vanderbilt.
Okay.
They're not fully healthy yet. I think when they get everyone playing, Frankie Collins back especially, I think they could make a
Is he
run.
coming back?
I saw something this
Yeah,
week
perfect.
that he should be coming back soon.
Okay.
I know
Um,
Duke Miles, one of their leading scorers, came back this weekend, which is good, but
yeah.
I think he should be. So, but yeah, I'll go with Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt. Okay. I mean, that's definitely a top pick for probably a lot of people as well. I think I'm still go with Florida. Um, Obviously, we talked about Florida for a minute now, how they're kind of flying under the radar, had a pretty tough start, but just the makeup of their team, how they're kind of playing now. I feel like everyone's kind of finding that continuity, that I don't even know the word I'm looking for, but they're all meshing together now. Whether it's the guards, the bigs,
100%.
defense is really good. They have size. Um, Obviously, Boogie's not shooting the ball pretty well as well the whole season, but as late, him and Xavier Lee playing much better. So, um, I think they pose a threat for a lot of these teams in the SEC, especially at the on the front court end of things. As I'm looking through these teams, but they're a team I just think that when all five of their stars are playing well, they're a really tough team to beat, and their bench is like pretty solid too as well. So, um, and they kind of have that championship DNA already from last year. So I'm gonna go with them, but I do like the Vanderbilt pick as well. So we'll see. That's be a pretty tough conference. Let's move on to the Big Ten. A lot of different ways you can go here, but who's your conference tournament winner?
Yeah, yeah, I'd say Illinois' obviously team is very high on. Um, I'll go. I'll go Nebraska.
Okay.
I think them or Illinois was my pick. I could have done either one, but I'll just make a compelling case for Nebraska since we haven't talked about them as much. Um, they played really. The bottom line is they played really well against the best teams on their schedule all year. They haven't really
Hmm.
got blown out. They've beaten a lot of quality teams. They have like that profile of like they're solid defense and they shoot a ton of threes. So any game where they make a little bit of those threes, they're probably going to do really well.
Hmm.
So I'll go with them. I think they're like a sneaky, like under the radar team going into their conference tournament.
I agree. I agree. I think so. Your two teams were Nebraska, Illinois. My two teams that I like are Michigan, obviously, and then I still like Purdue as well. I think Purdue, obviously some tough losses, but like I think they're still a team that could make it to the Final Four just with the experience, the continuity, the talent that they have, in that starting five. So I like them as well. But I'm gonna go Michigan. I just think Michigan's even with that loss to Duke, I still think they're the best team in the country.
Yep.
Deep deepest team in the country as well. Most talented team in the country as well. So I think they have it all. Like they have the size, they have the point guard play, they have the wing play, they have the shoot, they have everything. So it's like I was that's a pretty easy answer, but um in terms of like winning the actual conference tournament, I think I'm gonna go with them.
Think
Um,
about too, like with Michigan, like they went at Purdue, a consensus probably top 10 team in the country, and it like wasn't competitive.
Violated. Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
violated. It was crazy. And
So
Purdue,
yeah,
I
it's
love Purdue too. I think Purdue could be one of those top teams, but they just yeah, it was crazy.
mhm.
So I'm gonna go with them. Let's move on to the Big 12. This is where stuff, with the
So
streak.
much going on in this
But
conference. Yeah.
yeah, who are you thinking about there?
So this is a great question. I want to stay away from like I'm gonna just make compelling cases for teams like I don't want to pick Arizona, so I'll
Hmm.
pick uh I guess I'll pick Houston. I mean, I just think that their team extremely consistent. I do think they tend to play their best basketball right around now. I know they've had 2 tough losses and they have a few tough games coming up, but I think this will be a good, learning lesson from them. And by the time conference play comes around, they'll be playing their best basketball. So I kind of like them. I just think they're a tough team to prepare for. They that energy, physicality, especially in a conference tournament where you're playing back to back days. I just think teams are going to get worn out from that.
I think my overall answer is going to be Arizona, but I'll make another case for Iowa State. Kind of that summer realm of like back-to-back games, like they're going to make it tough for teams defensively. They take the defensive side of things really kind of similar to what Houston is, just like trying to put a lot of pressure on you, force you baseline trap, make everything make the game a little bit just dirty and stuff like that. But then you also pair that with the fact that they have three potential All Americans in Tamin Lipsey, Jefferson, and I forgot how you say it, Milovic, something like that. I don't know how to say
It's
his last
yeah,
name.
I don't even I wish I could tell you.
But he's like 50-50-90 right now. Like he's playing out of his mind. And then they have this other guard who's been picking up a lot. I think his last name is Heinze, who's shooting the ball pretty well. And
Yep.
another player, number one, I don't know his name, is also shooting pretty well. So
Bateman.
you have the shooting, obviously All American point guard, three All American players in general, and then on the defensive end, they're going to speed you up and pressure the ball. So I definitely
Right.
can see a world where they do well in the conference tournament, kind of like how they did, like was it 2 years ago when they shocked
Yeah,
everybody?
they
It was
won. Yeah, they won 2 years ago.
so kind of a similar realm of like not really falling under the radar, but like obviously everyone's pick is probably gonna be Arizona, so they're a team that I think could kind of make some noise as well. But moving on to the Big East, probably only two ways this can go with the potential third.
Unfortunately, yeah, I think so too.
Who do you have in this one?
I still think UConn is a better team than St. John's. I think though, hmm, I think St. John's, that'll be my pick. I think they're playing really good basketball now. They're 15-1 in the conference. So, as much as it's not like a great elite conference, they're 15-1. They kind of righted the ship. And I just think they're playing much better. Much, much better. I'll go with them. I think UConn's a bad matchup against St. John's.
Yeah, yeah. I think St. John's is athleticism, physicality, it kind of poses a threat for UConn, especially when like UConn's offense isn't playing how we're accustomed to and how it's supposed to be playing. Like they obviously this past like week and a half, they haven't really been looking that great. Took a tough loss to Creighton at home, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's ridiculous. But I think I'm gonna still go with UConn though. I think I'm still go with UConn. I think obviously this game upcoming versus St. John's whenever they do play is gonna be huge for how this kind of shapes out. But they're going through a little tough time right now. But I think Hurley will have them playing back to what we're accustomed to. Obviously March is where they kind of pick it up and kind of turn things on. So if
right.
uh, if Solo Ball and Mullins can be just pick it up offensively a little bit better, shoot the ball better, be more of offensive scoring threats for them because that's what they're looking for. Like obviously, they had Jordan Hawkins, Cam Spencer. Like they want a lot of their scoring to come from their two guards in this sense. So if they can kind of pick it up, they're a tough team. I've seen plenty of time, not plenty of time. I've seen a few times this past year where they look like the number one team in the country.
Yeah,
As of now, they're not looking like it, but I don't know. I think if they can get back to that level, they're a really tough team to beat. So I'm gonna go with UConn.
100%.
Let's move on to the ACC. Probably another easy answer here, but what do you have?
I probably think Duke will win, but I'll make a different compelling case. I'll go with NC State. They're a team we were higher on earlier in the year, and this team is just the times I watch them, I just think maybe I catch them at the wrong time. Like I watched them versus Miami and they collapsed down the stretch, but they have so many shot makers. Like whether it's I think it's Paul McNeil, Matt Abel, Darren Williams, Trey Hollerman, all those guys like they hit a ton of threes. Like Terrence Arsenault, Copeland's been great for them at point guard actually, but yeah, so I'll go with them. I just think they have like that could go on a run and type of team, like a Louisville, for example. But I like them. I just think they have so many. They have a lot of shot makers. Where like Louisville, I think has like two or three primary guys. I think this team is like five or six. They might not be to the talent level of those three guys on Louisville, but I just think they have a lot of threats. So NC State is a team I could see making a big run.
I like that. I'm gonna go. Obviously, Duke's my answer, but I think I'm gonna go like I just make a case is definitely Virginia. They're second in the league right now. Just a solid team that's kind of
It's a
figuring
good
out
call.
ways to win. I watched the game that they had pretty recently. I forgot who was it. Was it it was against Miami. They
Miami,
pulled it out. But another team like they don't really have like a star player in a sense. They kind of just have all guys that are kind of fit into roles, and I think that kind of is huge when it comes to March. It's like all right, they know who they are as a team. They know who should get the ball where, when, and all that kind of stuff as well. So, I think, they can make some noise, give Duke a run for their money. But at the end of the day, I got Duke and I'm gonna stick with that as well. But yeah, so we went through Power Five. Let's go into the bracketology. Those stuff are coming out. Joe Lunardi's giving out his like top 16 picks and where he would rank them. I think one just came out today, a new one. So I'm gonna name all the one seeds, two seeds, three seeds, four seeds. I just want to see your overall look to where these teams
sure,
are. Should they be there? Should they be higher, lower? Just want to see
sure,
what you're thinking on that. So the one seeds we have right now, this came out today. It changed a little bit from the first one that came out. The one
sure.
seeds are Duke, Michigan, Arizona, and UConn. What are your outlook on those one seeds?
I think Michigan, Duke, Arizona, all really deserving of those. Um, my biggest gripe here is that I think UConn's resume of what they've done in their wins and they've only had three losses. I think yes, they deserve to have I could see why their resume gives them a one seed, but if you really think about it, UConn beat Kansas without Darren Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
UConn beat Illinois before Keaton Wagler was even a thought.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know UConn they played Arizona without two of their best players, so it kind of goes both ways. I
Right.
could see that argument. But I do not think, like, I always think of seeds as like, okay, if these are all the one seeds, are these the four best teams in the country? I just don't think UConn's one of the four best teams in the country. So I'm not saying they don't deserve a one seed. I just think they're the most vulnerable one seed to losing for the Final Four.
I like the Duke, Michigan, Arizona. I'm kind of looking at the same sense of like, do I think this team is like the fourth best team in the country? I don't think so. I think other teams could be up there. I probably replace them with Iowa State right now, who
Yeah,
I
and
who I think was one last week.
yeah, I was gonna say I think they were as well. And then to add to your point, it's like, okay, do I put I'll use two teams that UConn's played, Illinois and Florida ahead of them, but it's like
Yeah,
UConn beat them. You know
beat
what I
them
mean?
exactly.
Even
So
though I think Florida and Illinois are a better team than UConn this year overall, it's like they beat them, so it's kind
yeah,
of
the
hard
team
to
is
do
good.
that.
Exactly. So, and that's what the committee is looking at. It's like
Yeah.
obviously you want to see who's playing the best, but it's also who has been who. So,
Yep.
okay, UConn. We're both in the same boat of UConn. Where would you put UConn right now? Then what seed?
I'm gonna do
Or-
I because I'm gonna do it based off what I think they are in the country, and I think they're a three or four seed.
Hmm. Okay, I'll probably put them at
I think they're a
two or
three seed.
three. Yeah, two or three. I'll probably put them at, but I don't think the one is there right now. For the two seeds, we have Iowa State, Purdue, Houston, and Illinois. Iowa State, Purdue, Houston, Illinois. How are you feeling about that?
So if I'm not mistaken, 7 and 8 are Houston and Illinois. Chuck.
Yes.
Okay, I would flip. So I'd have the eight seed be the five. So
Hmm.
Illinois I'd have as the first two seed. I'd have
Hmm.
Houston be the six, and then I'd have Purdue or I'd have actually, you know what? I'd have Iowa State seven because they beat Purdue, and I
Yeah.
have Purdue eight.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I'd actually, honestly, I'd flip it around like pretty much, but I don't have an issue that any of those teams are a two seed. I just
Hmm.
think Illinois and Houston have shown more against they've consistently shown more against the better teams in college basketball. I
Hmm.
think definitely Illinois, Houston. I could understand like they lost to Iowa State. I could understand that, but Houston's also they beat BYU on the road.
Hmm.
They beat Arkansas, right?
Yeah.
They've beaten a lot of teams, and I'm not saying uh, what's the right word? Iowa State hasn't, but I just I just watching them a few times, I just think they're a better team than Iowa State.
Hmm. No, I see that. I see. I think I like these two seeds. I don't know Purdue. I'm like here and there on. I like them. I think can make it, but I don't know. I'm trying to figure out who I would replace them with. That's a lower seed.
Yeah,
Um,
that's what I was thinking
no,
too. I don't know.
I don't know if I'm like replacing them with these other seeds I'm looking at right now, but yeah, I think these two seeds are pretty solid. Pretty solid.
Yeah.
I think all four of these teams can make the Final Four, possibly national championship as well. So I mean, pretty solid. Let's go to the three seeds. We have Florida, Nebraska, Gonzaga, and Kansas. How you feeling?
Florida, Nebraska, Gonzaga, Kansas, you said, right?
Kansas. Yeah.
So obviously here, I think Florida is there as a three seed, no one will want to play them.
Hmm.
So I think they're obviously that three seed where it's like most fear per se.
Hmm.
Is it you said also Michigan State and Nebraska?
Florida, Nebraska, Gonzaga, and Kansas.
Nebraska, Gonzaga. Okay. Nebraska I think is properly rated. They're fine as a three seed. I don't really have an issue with that.
Hmm.
Gonzaga without Braden Huff, I think that could be a huge issue there. They've
Yeah.
done better. Like they had a big game against Santa Clara, who's a possible just regular tournament team on the road and beat them. But Kansas, I am not. If they are a top three seed, I would be licking my chops to play against them.
Hmm.
I just think they're way too up and down. There's just so much going on there. They have a lot of talent, and they could beat anyone. They
Hmm.
really can. But they could also lose to Cincinnati at home this past weekend and get blown out.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think Kansas is a team. I just think I don't know what I'm getting. I don't think they're a three seed. I do
Hmm.
not.
I agree. I agree. I like Florida, Nebraska, Kansas. Like you said, I think their stuff is more off-course stuff that's gonna come to fruition. I think during the tournament.
What's your
Um,
thoughts on what Peterson should do?
what he should do, I think he should play the whole game and just
Or
keep.
that you bring up a great point. What do you think as a collective group the conclusion should be?
Right now, I think they should let him play. If he does this again, I think we just cook like he's cooked. But like there's still a chance of like there's not like, good enough time left where I think he can just play and play a lot and they could kind of get that mojo back. But if he keeps on doing it, I'm not. I don't know. So, but I think
Yeah,
that stuff might come into play. Like if he does keep doing that in March,
100%.
that's so. I don't like them as three seed. Gonzaga, they're a team that obviously they're doing their own thing in the WCC. Can't really get too much of them right now because they're not playing anybody really. But obviously, took a loss to Portland. I think they just beat Pacific at home by like 8 to 10 points. Um,
Yeah, not good.
so like I don't know. I just don't know like how I'm kind of pairing them up with these big time teams when they're playing each other, beating up on each other, and Zaga's kind of just over there doing their own thing and not even like really dominating how they usually are. So I think three spots a good spot for them in terms of like their record and resume and stuff so far, but um, I don't know how I like them fared up against these other like lower seeds, I guess in a sense. So
Right.
moving on to the four seeds, we have Texas Tech, Michigan State, Virginia, and Alabama. How you feeling?
So this is a seed line where I think Michigan State as a four, I think that's fine, properly rated. Don't have an issue with that. The rest of the teams I actually don't think are four seeds. I wouldn't have them as four seeds. Texas Tech now without Toppin, again, I treat them more as like a 7 through 10 seed realistically. I'm not saying they'll get there, but I'm just from my eyes, I think that's just a huge loss. Then Alabama's a four seed. Alabama smacks teams they're better than, and then any team that's around their level, if not better, recently, especially in SEC play and since the new year, they haven't beat on the road or in a neutral court. Alabama's not a team I'm high on. I don't like what I'm seeing from them. Virginia, I could see a case for a four. They're probably more a five seed, but in my opinion, but Alabama's the one. They're not a top four seed. No
Yeah,
way.
Yeah, I agree. I love Michigan State there. I think that's good for them. I think they could also be a scary team at that four spot for sure.
Hmm.
Bama, eh, I see Bama more of a five seed. I would say five or six, just because
Yeah,
like
I don't even have a problem with them being a 5 seed. Yeah.
yeah, I just think they're a little bit up and down too. Like you really don't know what they get from them. Virginia, I kind of like them at this four spot, four or five. Um, I think there's some other teams that you could put in front of them as well, but I think with their resume and their record so far, like I can't really argue with the four seed. And then Texas Tech, it will be interesting to see what the committee does and how Texas Tech kind of ends the season without
Hmm.
JT Toppin. See, I think I heard somewhere like they're trying to see how they're going to do without him to see where they're going to seat them at.
Right.
So obviously that
I
stuff
did
does
see
come
that
into
as
play.
well.
So, but overall, I mean, I think for the most part, these top 16 teams, there's probably a couple that will probably move out that top 16. But overall, like I like this list so far. So it'll be interesting these next couple of weeks to see if like this stuff kind of stays the same or what changes. It probably will change, but um, yeah, I definitely wanted to go over that. So moving forward, let's do some tough fun stuff right now. Let's go. Who are your final four picks
Yeah.
right now?
So I will reiterate early in the season, I'll use this as my official one. I had St. John's, Arizona, Illinois, and Duke. So somewhat of a chance for some of them, so still not terrible, but I think it's pretty clear Michigan, Duke, Arizona are the three best teams, so I just find it hard. I think those I'll pick those three.
Yeah. So it's the fourth. It's just the fourth.
The fourth team, yeah, I mean,
Oh no.
hmm, I kind of want to go like a slightly outside the box with this one. I'll go. It's down to two teams. It's down to three teams. I still like Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
I still like Houston. I could kind of see, and I'm gonna go with the last one, Nebraska. I think
Nebraska.
Nebraska's done really well against great competition.
Yeah.
I have that in high regard. I'll go. They're my team. I'm gonna go with Illinois.
Illinois.
Still really like them.
I like
Um,
that. Yeah, I like that. I like Purdue, Illinois, Florida, Iowa State, UConn. Oof. So I'm picking out of those.
for that last
Oh yeah, yeah.
spot.
So sorry. So yeah.
Yeah,
So I got Duke, Michigan, Arizona. I think those are the best teams that they're gonna make it. I think that's how it's gonna
yeah,
be this year. So I think I gotta just keep riding with Purdue, man. You gotta keep riding with Purdue. Like I said, they're a team that they're all seniors now. They all been through this. Like it's got to come to the point where like, all right, we got to make it. You got to make it this far. Um, and if they don't, like they're gonna be hearing it. Coach Perry's gonna be hearing it. He always does. So I'm gonna go with them. I've been riding with them. I've been riding with them for a minute now. It's just like they play certain teams and they kind of just get steamrolled. So if they see a team, I guess somewhat not similar to Michigan, but like a team that's gonna get up and down, getting your stuff, they kind of do struggle with a little bit. So I could definitely see them, losing a little bit on that front. But just with the experience, continuity, they've been there. They know what it's going to be like. So I'm gonna go with Purdue as my fourth one.
yeah. No, I think that's
So
yeah.
out of that four, you got to pick one.
Oh, now
Who
Strumshed.
who is your champion?
I think clearly that so far this year, I think Michigan's been the best team. So I'll go with them. I think Michigan and Arizona, to be honest with you, are. I honestly, I think Michigan and Arizona are one and two, and then I think Duke's in that top three, but I don't think they're on those two's level, which sounds crazy, but I'll go with Michigan.
Like that. I think I said this already today, but I think Michigan's my champion right now, just from based on what we've been talking
Yeah.
about. The deepest, I think it's most talented team, one of the biggest teams. But like I said, I do think I'll probably put Michigan then Duke to win. Honestly, just because I think Duke showed me a lot on Saturday to get that win because they could play with Arizona that style, bang down low and kind of expose them a little bit on the perimeter as well. So Michigan's probably my champion right now, but Duke's honestly a close second to be honest. We'll see how they kind of fare up at the end of the season, but this is something that you kind of talked about before hopping on the pod today was maybe you dive into a little bit more, but let me know if I'm kind of saying this a little bit wrong. But
Sure.
what's harder to do? Is it to make the Final Four or is it to win? How do I say this? Is it to win the
Yeah, yeah.
championship
So
to get
is it
there?
harder to, I was talking to Chuck earlier about, is it harder to go from the round of 64 to get to the Final Four, or is it harder once you're at the Final Four to win a championship?
Hmm.
And my argument is I think people, just because you get to the Final Four, they think, oh, you're so close, of course you could win it. But I'll give you an example. San Diego State got to the Final Four a few years ago. There was no chance that they were going to win a national championship. That was much harder for them to win a national championship,
Hmm.
right? So I think now, because the top teams are so good, like last year, all the teams were, really good. So all of them were pretty similar. So they could, I could see all four of them winning. But I think, like, okay, I'll give an example of like a Michigan State, and they're going to have to, if they get to a Final Four, and then they're going to have to play Arizona or Michigan the first round. That's extremely difficult. That's going to be way harder than any game they played to get to the Final Four by like a lot, in my opinion.
Hmm.
So think about it, like yeah. So I just think, for me personally, I think now in NIL where the top teams are so good, I think it's much harder to consistently beat those top three or four teams once you get to the Final Four. So I think it's harder to go from Final Four to champion than it is round of 64 to Final Four if you're like a 4 or 5 seed
Yeah, I definitely see that. I definitely think too. It depends on the team that where we're
you're
talking about. I think if
playing.
you're yeah, team you're playing, team that we're even talking about that's gonna make it. I think if you're a lower seed, like we kind of seen, um, like when St. Peter's made it to the Sweet 16 that year,
Yeah, yeah,
like
that's extremely
every game is
difficult.
gonna be super hard for them. If they did make it to the Final Four, obviously every game's gonna be hard regardless. But if you're a higher seed, like if you're one seed, you're playing 16-8. Those should be a little bit easier in a sense. Now you do play these one, two, three, four seeds. It's gonna be much harder. So I do get what you're saying there. Um, but yeah, it's like obviously the farther you go, the harder it's gonna get. And if you're in the Final Four,
Yeah,
like, you're playing against the three other best teams in the country with you. So that's a good point. I think, like you said, people I think are only really focused on like how many games you have to get there rather than like that game when you are there Final Four, how hard it is to even win that game because at that
hmm,
point too, like you have all the scout ready, you're seeing what these teams are doing and stuff like that. So that's a good point, honestly.
yeah,
So do you have a team that maybe is a little bit sneaky in a sense that can make a deep run in this tournament, or like that people aren't really honed in on, or anything?
yeah. I'll give like a top four seed, and then like the rest kind of dark horse. So I'll give two different ones. The top four seed that I think could make a dark horse run is, I've already said this, is Nebraska. They'll
Hmm.
probably be a 2 or 3 seed. Maybe they go as low to a 4 seed, but they've just played really well against the best competition. And for example, if they're a 3 seed, the first round game is going to be a 14 seed. They'll most likely win. Their second round game will be against either a 6 or an 11 seed. I still like their chances in that. And by the time they get to the Sweet 16, they'll be playing versus a very good team. And they've played very well versus very good teams all year. So I like Nebraska. I think they're just a solid defense. They can get hot from three. They're just a very solid under the radar team that most people, just because they don't have the AG DeBonces, Darren Petersons, won't be a popular pick. But I could see them. And then kind of the double digit, I'm trying to look here. Double digit seeds that or not even double digit, but like a lower seed that could make a run. Wisconsin would be like a popular pick. I think people would definitely pick them. Uh, I'll go. It's either Wisconsin or Texas for me, but I'll just go. I guess I'll go Wisconsin
You
just
said
because
Wisconsin and who? Texas?
Texas. Yeah. Texas played
Okay.
pretty well actually versus top teams this year. I'll pull it up quick, but they beat Vandy, they beat Bama,
Hmm.
um, they beat NC State. Like they beat those are three quality, pretty quality teams. So
Hmm.
they've done well, but I'll go with Wisconsin. They just have like that the guard play that can get hot quick, like, and they've shown it. They've beat Illinois, they beat Michigan. I mean, those are probably some of the best wins in the country. So I'll go with Wisconsin as like a later seed, and then Nebraska as like an earlier seed.
I like that. I think for my early seed, I'll probably go Florida. I mean,
Oh yeah,
super high
that's
on
a
them.
great
Been
one.
super high on them. They obviously won last year. It'll be big on if these guards can kind of because like I said, like March Madness is all about guard play and how well like they can kind of
Yep.
be able to navigate through that. And these two guards haven't really been on this stage yet compared to some other guards in the country, but everyone else has for the most part, like their front court. A couple guys off the
Right.
bench that have been there, so hopefully they can bring that kind of experience and help that out. For a lower seed, I probably pick. I like the Texas pick. Honestly, I do. I'll probably go Clemson. They're another team I think flying under the radar, but just a solid team overall. They do a little bit of everything, and we'll see how they kind of do in the conference tournament if they see how far they make it. But they're a team that I think can sneak up on some guys. It'll be interesting to see where they would be seated though. Um, like, where do you think they'll be seated? Probably,
What's their like best one? Like, I just want to double check. What's like their
yeah.
best wins?
Let me check. So right now
Uh,
they're like right in the outskirts of top 25. Yeah, if you could check that, go ahead.
yeah.
But I don't know. I think there's just a totally solid team. I think can do a little something.
I don't know. I mean,
What's their best win
I'm
right now?
I'm trying. I can't. It's not loaded for me. But I'll again, if they're like a 7 through 10, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. That's from I'm seeing them more 7 through 10, and like it really does matter. It really does come down to like the matchups and stuff where they're kind of
So
seated.
it's
But
literally what Mar. That's why, like, as much as we want to pick these teams, I think once the bracket comes out and you see, like, okay, this is where these teams' strengths and weaknesses are. A lot of these teams that are not Duke, Arizona, Michigan, it's just going to come down to
we're
matchups.
seated, yeah, we're seated that. That's all it is. So, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see as this goes along and stuff comes about because it's right around the corner. So, something
Absolutely.
that a new stat that I guess just came out is something called wins above bubble. This is something that you brought up to me pretty recently. Can you kind of explain what that is to the people, and then which it's just explain how important it is to seeding in March Madness and kind of how it goes on from there.
Yes, it's a new metric I guess the committee uses, but it's basically I'll use this example. So if St. John's has 3 wins above the bubble on their season, they get to that number by comparing it to the average bubble team, how many wins they would have if they played the same exact schedule.
Hmm.
So in theory, if you have like a high wins above bubble, that means theoretically, again, you would be fairly for sure in NCAA tournament teams because theoretically you would do better than the average bubble team. So I'm gonna pull it up now because one team that's high in wins above bubble is Miami of Ohio, actually, if I remember correctly. So that's like a stat for them that'll be huge.
Okay.
Um, Miami of Ohio. Yeah, they're 29th in the country in wins above bubble, which is huge for them. Whereas like their predictive metrics, they're like team 70 through 90 in the country. You're
Hmm.
like, yeah, no way this team is so I think it's a way to kind of more fairly evaluate like, okay, based on your schedule, are you taking care of business? Are you beating the best teams?
Right.
Right. So I think it's a better way to like try to be more fair to the mid-major teams.
Hmm.
Whereas like a team that has bad wins above the bubble, I know is Virginia Tech and TCU, which they're
Hmm.
56th in the country, actually, and yeah, 56 for Virginia Tech. They almost have a negative wins above bubble. So like, even though their predictive metrics, they're probably a top 50 team in the country or 45, like the ones above bubble certainly don't help them.
So is this something that is this something that the committee's actually looking at when
Yeah,
seeing
yeah,
teams?
it's
Okay.
like how they, yeah, it's like it's same thing as like quad one wins or like Ken
Okay.
Palm rating.
Wow. So this could be huge then.
Yeah.
So that should be really big, especially for a team like Miami. Like who probably has like the shortest leash in terms of all
Leash.
these teams.
Yeah.
So like if that's pretty high, then you never know like where they could be seated. So that's interesting. I think it's huge, especially now like with last year, you see all the top teams making it to the so deep to the Final Four and stuff like that. So it kind of gives, I think, like you said, the mid majors a little bit more of a respect and like ability to kind of get to these like higher seeds, I guess, in a sense. So
I think there was a little bit of an outcry last year when UNC, who had one quad one win the whole year, made the NCAA
oh
tournament.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
like, even though they obviously probably were, as much as it pains me to say, were a top, six, they were one of the best teams in, 64, 68
Yeah,
teams.
yeah.
They were definitely worthy of that, but their resume didn't back it up. So I think
Hmm.
this is just a better way of trying to mesh two of those things, like the eye test versus what your actual resume is.
Right, right. And this kind of leads into another question you posed was should bigger conference teams whose records like 6-12, like 8-10, like just that weird, like not great numbers, but like in that kind of middle area, should they be able to I guess make the tournament more than a low major team who has like two or three losses in a sense, like if Miami does lose one game and then loses the conference tournament, who I guess has the higher end of the stick when it comes to like seeding, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's where like wins above bubble, like why they implemented it, because Oklahoma a few years ago with or last year with Jeremiah Fears, they were like 6-12 in the SEC. Like
Hmm.
they lost their first round game versus a UConn team that like wasn't that good, and like
Hmm.
you're thinking it. In my opinion, some of those teams, especially in the Big Ten and Big 12 SEC, their kind of Ken Palm rating or their amount of quad one wins is more just because they play in a better conference. But
Hmm.
like again, most of those teams are not beating NCAA tournament teams. They're beating, bubble teams at home, for example, when like again, I don't know, a Miami, Ohio versus like Akron in their league. If they won at Akron, that's a phenomenal win.
Right.
But it doesn't get like the notoriety, I guess, that like beating LSU at home when a lot of those SEC teams, like their predictive metrics are pretty good, but if you actually watch them play, you're like, okay, this team's not even close to an NCAA tournament team.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. Right. That's why it's just so hard to like track and stuff like that because like you mentioned LSU, like they're not close to being a
Yeah.
tournament team, but then if you match them up with Akron
I
or
know, yeah. They would
you never
probably beat them.
know, like is they probably will beat those teams who have a better chance to make. So it's just like I don't know, it's so hard because say with that Oklahoma team, right, that you mentioned last year, 6-12, you put them in Miami Ohio's league, they're most
They
likely
won
going
the
to
conference.
win the conference. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So
Yep.
I think to look at it, it's like, all right, one one who has the better just overall season resume and stuff like that. And then two, I guess you have to look at it as like who's just a better team in general. But I think that kind of faults the mid-major team because they're not in
I
those.
know,
You
yeah.
can't really prove it. So it's definitely a double-edged sword because you like I see both sides of it. Like a team like
Yep.
Oklahoma could be like, "Yo, we're just way better than these mid-major teams," which is probably true. But like your record doesn't match up to theirs too.
Right.
Um, yeah, I think it's hard. I think something that people don't really talk about is obviously everyone talks about the mid major and how hard it is for them to do well and make it to the tournament, but also I think about like we just mentioned these teams are like 6-12 and you got to go up against like the SEC last year where Auburn, Florida, Bama. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
like you're not gonna win those
Yeah.
games. But um yeah, that's actually a great question that you posed because
Y-
I really don't know the answer to it honestly.
Yeah, and I think that's where wins above bubble is going to be like a big stat for bubble teams because it's going to
Mhm.
say, okay, if you're a mid-major team and, you're taking care of business, you're going to get rewarded versus a 6-12 SEC team probably not going to get as rewarded well because in that metric, like you're not doing better than the average bubble team. The average bubble team is probably going 500 in their conference.
Right.
Slightly better, slightly below. 6-12 is like it's very much below. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Definitely will, see how that if there are any teams this year that kind of, have that same kind of treatment, like UNC or Oklahoma did last year. But
Right.
um, I guess what are some qualities in a team that you think a dark horse team in the tournament kind of has? Like obviously we always see teams that make these runs and they obviously show like either they shoot the ball very well, they just bring so much pressure on defense. There's always like one thing that kind of sticks out with these certain teams. So is there something that like you look for in a team early on that'd be like, okay, they actually might make a run because of this?
Yeah, so I think nowadays, I'll give offensively a key area I always look for defense and offensively and defensively. Defensively, I feel like teams now, it's just so emphasized, 3-point attempts, like get them up, like a Louisville, for example. I think the defensive teams that take away the 3-point shot like limit their attempts, do their ball screen coverage, how they switch, all that stuff. Those are the teams I think they just have a huge advantage because if it a lot of these teams are so focused on getting threes up that if you take that away, that's going to give you a great chance in games. So I think that's a good defensive thing I look for. Offensively, like a dark horse team, I would say everyone's going to say 3-point shooting, which I agree. But I think if shots aren't falling on offense, can you either limit the mistakes you make, so limit your turnovers, or get second chances? So I think if you're a team that can offensive rebound well, or you don't turn it over at a very high rate, like I'm talking like top 30 in the country in each stat, like either or, I think that could be a dark horse team because sometimes again, like you're not gonna have the great shooting nights, but if you can just not turn it over or get second chances, that'll keep you right there as well.
No, I agree. I think for me offensively, what I look at is I'm thinking about like much lower seeded teams like
Yeah, double
14,
digit.
15, 13, like teams like that. I think because you're playing against a very high seed, right? And what we've seen or what I've seen is like pace of play, right? I think playing
It's a good
fast,
one.
playing fast is huge. I'm thinking about a team like St. Peter's a few years ago when they beat Purdue. Like they were going up and down. Like they get a rebound, like they're going, and they're just like not playing with any care in a sense. Like they're just trying to make
They're not
plays,
afraid. Yeah, that's a
not
great
afraid.
point.
They're just going. You know what I'm saying? And when you're a lower seed, like you kind of have to play that way. It's like we have nothing to lose. I'm trying to make this game as yucky and dirty as possible. That's on offense and defense. Like they're speeding them up on the defensive end. And then offensively, like I said, they're running their stuff, but also when the opportunity is there to go score on a fast break, they're doing that as well. So that's probably the two things, or the one thing on both ends of the floor that I'm looking for is like, can you just make this game just the nastiest game ever? Like, if you're playing a top seed, like how nasty are you gonna like? You don't want the other team to be comfortable at all. You know what I'm saying? And that's
Yeah,
kind
because
of
then you're screwed.
yeah.
Yeah,
If you let these top teams be comfortable,
forget it. Yeah,
yeah, they have the size, they have the skill. Like you're not gonna win. So you got to just make this game just like disgusting in a sense. So that's probably what I'll go with. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of teams can do that this year. I do want to see some Cinderella stories this year. I think that brings the March Madness feel a little bit
I'd like
back.
to see one,
But
like a. I guess I'll count 12 versus 5, but like I'd like to see one, 12 through 16 seed one
yeah, we'll
at
see. I mean,
least.
we'll see. I hope so. I want to see. Yeah, I want to see somebody make a because those stories are like obviously Low Chicago, St. Peter's,
Princeton,
FGCU. Like yeah, exactly. Like those teams you just hear about. It's like damn,
yeah.
like they
It
really
seems it seems awesome, yeah.
yeah, it is awesome. It's great, but yeah, obviously March is like we said around the corner. It's crazy, man. We're at the end of we're at the end of
Right
the road.
there.
It's
Yeah.
getting kind of sad, but yeah, we appreciate the love whether it's on this channel specifically, just all around. You guys keep us going and stuff like that. But make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, all of the above, and we'll see you guys next week.